cosplay photographer who had just exited a showing of Shang-Chi when this stranger approached him. Now, according to the caption on Instagram, the man approached Chan asking for his help. Chan agreed to help him, but since the guy wasn't wearing a mask, he asked him to keep a 6-foot distance, and that set the person off into a public rage, the likes of which most normal people will never experience in their entire lives. So that's just the beginning, though. There was another video, so here is a continuation of that encounter.
Bitch, chill out, dude.
I asked you for help.
All I said was stay 6 feet.
I didn't hear them over here. I asked you for help.
All right, but you, what kind of help?
How about you get? I asked for help so I can get home.
What kind of help you? What kind of help you looking for?
For Uber. Take the be a boy.
You said you call me China, right?
You are China, bitch. Bitch.
Okay, so lots of racial slurs. At one point, he turned to that other guy that was standing there and asked him if that guy wanted to help him attack the person taking the video. Now, look, why does this stand out? This stands out to me because obviously anti-Asian racism has been a massive problem that has had a little bit of focus over the past year. The idea that one would like sort of linger outside of the opening of a film starring Asian people to then harass Asian audience members after they come out and sling racial slurs at them. It seems like we haven't necessarily made that much progress so far. But what do you think, Francesca?
I mean, that is not the Marvel way, you know? I thought it was about coming together and, working together and defeating the bad guys. I forgot who the bad guys were.
What it is.
Yeah, that feels messed up, you know what I mean? And I'm like, that's not the Wakanda way. I've seen Black Panther. You didn't see, I mean, I'm sure there were many people triggered over Black Panther. That definitely happened. But it is interesting that you have this first superhero film starring a Asian lead, a protagonist. There's a lot of things we could say. There's a lot of history of the ways that Asian Americans have, if they do get leads, they're not allowed to be like sexualized, right? I think there was like Jackie Chan and Jet Li and Aaliyah had a film together, and there was like a kissing scene, and that got like deleted because they were like, nah, Jet Li can't be sexualized, and it's just like, man, the racist ways that Asian Americans are emasculated and othered and objectified, really, sort of like as background or as, stalwart workers or as nail salon, technicians and all that kind of stuff. And we have to understand that. And my dude is just mad that like Shang-Chi did like 90 million at the box office this Labor Day weekend.
It's
like
records,
completely breaking records, and I'm super excited to see it. Honestly, I'm not huge into Marvel, but like I said, I could come out for this, and it's upsetting. And I also think that there are ways that, even though I believe that this perpetrator was African American, that it fits into a narrative of white supremacy. And I say that because white supremacy is about dividing and conquering. It's about othering. It is about seeing one another as less than human. And whether that's black on Asian, Asian on black, brown on brown crime, that does happen. And obviously we need to understand that it is something that we need to fight against.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, Chan, who took the video, finished his post by saying Asian hate is still a thing. And 100% is a massive amount of anti-Asian racism that some of the worst people in the media monetized last year during the pandemic. Hopefully, the next generation with more representation, hopefully more understanding. Some of these things can be fought against, but we all have to participate in it. Just devastating to see. But by the way, I just want to point out, we talked about the fact that it had broken records. So I saw this post being tweeted out by Simu Liu, who was the star of the movie. He had done a screenshot of all of the like YouTube videos who were like predicting that it would flop and just put LOL over it. Because you may not know, dear viewer, if you are a well-adjusted person, but there's an entire cottage industry of YouTube channels and Twitter people who their whole thing in life, their whole personality, their whole reason for being is hating movies about non-white, non-men, basically. That's their whole thing. And they just hope against hope that the movie will fail. Well, it didn't. It did great. By the way, I saw it last night. You should definitely see it. It's awesome. I don't know why you would go through your life hoping that movies about non-white people or about women will suck and pretending that they do when they don't. That's a weird way to live. But as a society, we gotta figure out a way to fight back against this, because the backlash against any representation, any evolution whatsoever is just so pathetic.
And
Anyway,
let's be
final
real,
thoughts.
real equality is when action movies starring women and people of color can suck.
Yes.
Because guess what? Action movies starring white cis men have been sucking for a very long time. So let's have some equal representation for just random blockbusters with too much CG, terrible writing, and undeveloped actors. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
You're still gonna eat popcorn to it.
That's true. That is true. Okay, it's great to have you on a fantastic Tuesday, Francesca. Congratulations on your very successful live event, and hope to talk to you soon.
Yes, everyone listen to the Bitchuation Room podcast, and thanks for everyone for coming out.
Do that. Awesome. Thank you. Everyone at home, if you've been waiting for the top 10 list, I will be recording it. It'll be a little bit later on today, but it will be up on your feeds if you're a tier 2 or tier 3 member. And until then, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
Yep, welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking down news of the day with me today, none other than Adrienne Lawrence, author and attorney at law, also TYT contributor, will be with me on the show. During the bullpen, my debate segment with Daniel DiMartino. Daniel is an economics university, an economics expert, PhD in economics from Columbia University. We will debate conservative versus liberal or progressive economic policy. It should be fun. They got me debating a real freaking economic PhD. Okay, all right, ladies and gentlemen, top news story of the day. Black conservative Larry Elder is now making a case for slave owners to have reparations while still dismissing descendants of the enslaved having reparations. Here it is.
Right behind them.
By the way, when you mentioned that the UK was ahead of us, they were. Do you know that the slave owners were compensated? After they lost their quote unquote property, the government compensated slave owners.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so when people talk about reparations, do they really want to have that conversation? Because like it or not, slavery was legal. And so their property, their legal property was taken away from them after the Civil War. So you could make an argument that the people that are owed reparations, and not only just black people, but also the people whose quote property, close quote, was taken away after the end of the Civil War.
Yeah, you ignorant SOB, I'm willing to have that conversation. Larry Elder is running for governor of California, by the way. So let's have that conversation, Larry. And by the way, stop ignoring my people who have been trying to get you on this program for a very long time. You continue to ignore. If you believe in your policies, bring your happy ass up into the bullpen and let's debate, period, okay? Run tell that. Now, let me go ahead and dissect where Larry Elder is 100% completely ignorant of what he says. So Larry thinks that people were property. I don't care what law you deem, what statute you are behind, or what constitution you believe in. People are people, not property, period, okay? Now, the argument of reparations is about repair. This country is for reparations. The United States of America is for reparations. We have given reparations to the Japanese, to Native Americans. We have given reparations to many that have been involved in experimentation against their will, without their knowledge. Reparations is something that this government has enacted, not only on the federal level, but also state and other local governments. That is the truth. Do the homework. Here's the other thing, Larry. While Larry is talking about the UK, you don't have to go to the UK to find that slave owners actually receive reparations. You can start right here in the good old United States of America. The irony is unreal. Before I go to that, let me give you context to this conversation. Larry Elder, 69 years of age, sat down with Candace Owens. Candace Owens is still the #1 black white supremacist. Larry Elder has not knocked her off that #1 spot yet. A conservative talk show host and author to share his views on the current state of race relations and why the black community, as he says, plays the victim card as reported by Insider. During the conversation, Elder and Owens, who are both, as you can tell, black, touched on the topics of reparations. Elder, however, argued that enslaved individuals were legally deemed property at the time. He noted that slave owners and their estates are owed compensation for the human property they lost following the end of the Civil War and the passage of the 13th Amendment, which partially abolished slavery after 1865. Now, let me take you back to the 13th Amendment. Because slavery was not abolished by the 13th Amendment. As a matter of fact, slavery is still legal in the United States of America. Let's go to the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment, ratified in 1865, essentially abolished slavery. However, it also made it legal to exploit people as a punishment for crime. Here's the wording of the Constitution. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime. That means that slavery is legal if it is utilized under the pretext as a punishment for criminal activity, okay? Now, let's go to the reparations that already happened for slave owners in the United States of America. Let me take you back to April 6th, 1862. April 16th, 1862. Here it is, President Abraham Lincoln. He signed something emancipating people in Washington. But to ease the pain of slave owners, the District of Columbia Emancipation Act paid who? Slave owners. Up to $300 for every person that was freed. Do the calculation, that equates to about $10,000 to $12,000 per person today. So literally, we had an act signed by a president to give reparations to slave owners in the United States of America. That is what we did. But we're still debating on if reparations is proper for descendants of slaves in this country. Larry Elder is making a ridiculous argument. I hope to have him on the show very soon to debate me in person. Attorney at law, Adrienne, what are your thoughts here?
Well, to the extent that Larry Elder is on your show, I'm hoping it is as the gubernatorial candidate who did not win the actual election. As we know, he is running for governor in California here in the event that Gavin Newsom is recalled. This man and his nonsense, it is very dangerous. And if he's essentially, him and Candace Owens are rapping together, I think it tells us that there's nothing but trouble to be had there. But also his very limited and ignorant mindset with regard to reparations and slavery, it misses the mark through and through. We had 250 years of slavery, 90 years of Jim Crow, 60 years of what, separate but equal, and 35 years racist housing policies. We've also had this criminal justice mill that takes advantage of that loophole in the 13th Amendment that you just mentioned, essentially funneling black and brown people, predominantly black people, into the criminal justice system and essentially taking their lives and their livelihoods away from them. We have seen so much degradation and oppression that has been administered at the hands of the United States, yet there has been no reckoning and no reparations made. So for Larry Elder to sit there and say that, hey, white people lost too, they lost property, get out of here. If anything, the benefits are still flowing through from our slavery, from all those years and the years that have come in addition to and been built upon them.
That's right, well said. Let me bring your attention to a tragedy that is happening right now in a county jail. There's a doctor under investigation for making inmates of the jail guinea pigs for his experiment. Let me give you the background. There's a doctor in Washington County, Arkansas, under investigation by the medical board. Why? Because this doctor has been using this Republican-pushed anti-parasite drug, Ivermectin, okay? You got Alex Jones and all kind of conservative cats who are swearing by this unapproved medication. Now, this medication is used primarily by vets, okay, veterinarians. But in low dosage, it can be used. There's a version that can be used for adults. It's used for scabies. That's what it's used for, all right? So this medical doctor is under investigation for giving this medication as a treatment to inmates in a county facility where he has the contract. And according to the inmates, they were unaware of what drug it was. According to one of the inmates who went on record, he said they were told these were vitamins or antibiotics. Not so. So let me go deeper. Eva Madison, a county elected official, had raised the issue during a Finance and Budget Committee meeting Tuesday night. Jail officials were presenting their 2022 budget, which included the jail's physician who is now being investigated. His name is Dr. Rob Carras, asking for a 10% increase in the medical services contract. So Dr. Rob would like a raise, all right? Madison informed committee members and the jail officials that a county employee who has opted to stay anonymous to the public told her that he had been sent to the jail's clinic to get tested for COVID-19. When the person tested negative, they were given a $76 prescription for ivermectin. He was concerned about the prescription and asked his primary care physician about it. And the physician told him, and I quote, "Throw that in the trash." Okay? It gets deeper. While this individual had good fortune to have a physician that he could go to and ask for a second opinion, Madison said at the meeting, "Our inmates do not have that choice." Madison contacted Sheriff Tim Helder about the matter, and the sheriff defended it, saying the doctor has been prescribing ivermectin on a regular basis. Let's put up a picture of this sheriff. There he is. Let's put up a picture of good old Dr. Rob here. That's him. All right, just happy as he can be with his high dollar contract with the county, allegedly experimenting on inmates inside of that facility. Madison said when he spoke to the doctor, he confirmed that he had been prescribing this to detainees as well as members of his own family. That's according to the narrative. The doctor, who has treated people at the jail for the last 6 years, confirmed prescribing the drug to CBS News on Friday, saying that vaccines are a tremendous asset in fighting against COVID, but that their availability does not change the day-to-day reality of caring for sick patients. In an email he sent, according to the doctor, he obtained ivermectin from a licensed pharmacist. Now that's according to his defense. He's saying, listen, I got this from a licensed pharmacist. I did not go to a vet in order to get this, okay? And it was formulated for humans. That's according to him. He also told CBS News, and I quote, "I do not have the luxury," now listen to this, "I do not have the luxury of conducting my own clinical trial or study and am not attempting to do so. I am on the front line of trying to prevent death and serious illness. I am proud of our track record in both my clinics and at the jail in particular." Now, what he just said is contrary to what the inmates at the facility are saying. I believe all of the inmates over this clown, okay? I do. Here's what the inmates are saying. Floril Wooten said he and other inmates were not aware that jail nurses were giving them ivermectin until about 5 days after first receiving the pills. He said inmates can't see what the medications are because pills are pulled out of a drawer that has dozens of bottles. The only reason they found out, he said, is because of news reports that the good doctor, the jail's physician, was prescribing the drugs to detainees and others. And from that point forward, they finally gave us the consent if we would like to take the pill or not. He said, adding that roughly 20 other inmates then turned down the pills. This is when they realized they were part of this doctor's experimentation. Now the doctor denies it. He says, oh no, all of the detainees, they were aware of what they were taking. Here's what was said. It was not consensual. They used us as an experiment, like we're livestock. Kind of sounds like the 13th Amendment to the Constitution to me. This story is so extreme. Let me say this for the record. The FDA has said this is a no-no. The company that makes ivermectin, they said this is a no-no. The clinical trials that are going on, not promising results at the moment. Data is still coming in. Adrienne Lawrence, your thoughts?
Well, I think that this is extraordinarily disturbing and it really shows the low point of mankind because what they are indeed doing is using these individuals as guinea pigs. It's a thought that just because an individual is imprisoned, whether they committed a crime or not, but that they are a lower form of humanity and thus they do not need to be treated like whole people who are respected. And to know that these drugs were essentially peddled to these individuals under the guise of being helpful is so incredibly wrong. This ivermectin stuff, it has side effects that could impact everyone differently. Skin rashes, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, limb swelling, neurologic adverse events like potentially requiring hospitalization, liver injury. These things are no joke and you never know what could go down with someone's system. So to be giving out these drugs and just, hey, let's see what happens. all it really does is remind me in part of that Tuskegee experiment, where the US used the Department of Public Health to essentially administer placebos and all these other drugs to black men as guinea pigs just to see if syphilis would kill them or not, or how they'd respond under the guise of, I'll give you free healthcare. When we look at that Tuskegee experiment, we have to remember it just ended in 1972.
That's right.
And so it's part of the distrust, the legacy of distrust that the black community often has for the US government as well as medical science. So I don't know, just it hits me in so many different directions. But as you see a lot of people refuse to take the COVID-19 vaccine, you have to remember there's a history of people who look like me and Dr. Richie essentially being used as guinea pigs, and we're seeing it happen today.
Yeah, and people that look like this medical doctor in charge, okay? Yep. Let me go to this next story. Let's just go straight to the video here.
Let me see your hands. Whoa, guys, man, come. Whoa. Guys, calm down, man. You guys need to calm down. You guys need to calm down.
I didn't hear him.
You guys need to calm down. I got you, man. I'm recording.
Driver, we are too. Cool.
Okay.
Open the door.
Open, guys. Open the door. Yes. Don't do nothing. You guys good. Unlock the door. Unlock the door, guys. Please. Get out. I got your back. Get out. Get out, please. Do what he says, guys. Do what he says, please. I got y'all. Keep doing what you're doing. He should not pull your gun on you guys. That's crazy. I know. I look. I got the whole thing.
This is literally why I come to a light.
Trust me, I know. I'm look. I got you. It's all right. I'm glad you did that. I see the whole thing. You're good.
It's a damn shame. Let me give you a little background to this. This was all about a tag, okay? A car tag. They not only took him off the car, they also took his girlfriend out of the car, according to the report. This was posted on Instagram, okay? That boy DP underscore said the driver wrote that he and his girlfriend had been driving late at night and were clocked by the officers who could not see the paper car tag in his back windshield. In the specific area we were in, as you can see, it was pitch black, dark, and unsafe for us to pull over. So we went to a nearby gas station, the Instagrammer wrote. We wanted to protect ourselves, so we decided to pull into a well-lit area to keep us safe. As soon as we pulled in, 3 cops approached the car and 3 guns were drawn and ready. Now remember, cops only pull guns when they're ready to kill. 2 on my side and 1 on my girlfriend's side. Now my windows don't go down. And in the attempt to tell the officers that you can hear them banging and yelling at the car on the driver's side, one of the officers that had a gun on my side, who works for Cabarrus County Sheriff's Department, had a breaking glass pen in his other hand and busted my driver's side window, unlocked the car, and pulled me out. This was over a car tag. According to the narrative, according to him, they took me in one of their SUVs and questioned me while I watched my girlfriend struggle while handcuffed trying to contact our parents. My girlfriend was not uncuffed until they started to pull off with me in the cruiser, leaving my girlfriend at the gas station until parents arrived. This is one of many unjustified things that cops get away with. Adrienne Lawrence, you now have cities like Minneapolis. They're saying, listen, we're not going to even pull people over anymore for things like a paper tag in the car.
Yep, and that's the wise way to go, because we've been shown time and time again from these videos that law enforcement cannot control their cool, especially when they're dealing with a black or brown person. And what we have actually going on there is unconscious bias, whether we know it or not, because not all racism is overt. And so we are seeing this play out with these stereotypes of this thought that black people are dangerous. And even in this situation here, let's look at the county stats for Cabarrus County. A report recently released by the North Carolina Criminal Justice Analysis Center center. Well, what they found in March of 2021 and looking at about a decade of drivers being pulled over, they found that law enforcement in North Carolina, they searched black drivers and their cars nearly twice as often as the officers did with white drivers.
Wow.
And they also used force twice as often with black drivers and white drivers. Yet the research also found that white drivers were far more likely to be carrying contraband. So we actually have to just be honest with ourselves and say, hey, we have racism floating within our society and thus we have unconscious bias and it's killing black people literally. But at the end of the day, all we know is that this force here, as we just saw in this video, that this is insanely excessive, it's not acceptable, and it does get people killed, and they just happen to be black more often than not.
Yeah, and this young man, he may not know all of the statistics you just quoted, but he knows this county. Because he said, I'm going to a well-lit area, and the man who started recording, he knows that county as well, and he started recording. We got more on the other side. Stick and stay is indisputable.
Magic, it's showtime, and say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, JR, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right, a few years ago, when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I did. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
This isn't Anderson Cooper. If you say some BS, I'm not simply gonna let it slide and then move on to the next thing.
This is what the establishment does not understand about politics. You can change the conversation.
This is my place in that broader revolution.
We first have to fight to prove that we are human. We then have to fight for our freedom. Then we fight for our equality. And now we are fighting for our survival because your militarized police force thinks it's okay to shoot us at any point in time.
Look at what's happening in society today, and it's hard not to think about what was going on in the 50s and 60s.
We're all out here. Everybody that cares about where this country's going are out here.
We are gonna win this fight. We are gonna transform this country.
Whoever wins this primary wins the seat.
We just took down one of the top establishment Democrats in the country.
Down goes Crowley. Down goes Crowley.
This is the beginning.
What do we got? We got USC in the
Best moment of my life, I guess, would have to be when the kid was born. Like, because suddenly that meant I served my purpose. Very close second, the day we sold Clerks. That changed my life. In fact, Harley wouldn't have been born if I hadn't sold Clerks, so that noise. Clerks, probably the biggest day, best day of my life. It led to everything else. I got the wife and the kid because Clerks happened. So don't tell the kid, but Clerks.
Our teachers are suffering, and we won't even cut 10% of the money going to military contracts.
The cost of one modern heavy bomber is this: a modern brick school in more than 30 cities.
A tiny sliver of the defense budget would pay for 395,000 teachers.
We're talking about the
future of the country. We're talking about the nation's youth and making sure that we are competitive globally. And the only way to do that is to make sure that we provide quality education for our young people.
All right, welcome back to Indisputable. Good to be with you. Let me read some of these viewer comments. Before I go to the comments, I want to remind you of a few things. If you are watching Indisputable on the Damage Reports YouTube channel, I want to first say thank you for all of the support. Thank you to TDR, my big homie John, and everybody. We are going to be only on Indisputable TYT. That's Monday, September 13th. Monday, September 13th, our live stream will disappear from the Damage Reports YouTube channel and only be available at Indisputable TYT, okay? Don't panic. Here's what you gotta do. Go to youtube.com/Indisputable TYT and click subscribe. That's it. youtube.com/Indisputable TYT, click subscribe, all right? And we got you. Never miss, I wish a Karen would, never miss the bullpen. It's all right there, okay? If you have already subscribed, here's your challenge for this week. Get 5 other people to subscribe to this truth that we lay out every day, all right? That's your homework. Don't forget, right after Indisputable, check out Deep Dive with the big homie Jordan Yule, exclusively on twitch.tv/TYT. Great analysis on what's happening in the world of news and politics. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Once again, twitch.tv/TYT. And the conversation. Today live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, 2:30 Pacific time. Also at tyt.com/live before the Young Turks. Make sure you subscribe to get all of those remarkable interviews at youtube.com/TYT conversation. All right, let me read some of these amazing comments. TYT member, you own it today, Kelly O'Hara. This is my poet. Kelly says, feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. Come on, Doc, it's truth-telling time. Larry Elder is a bootlicking troll, and his ridiculous noise is taking a toll. He can't be allowed to win this recall. No victory, no honor for him this fall. That may be one of the top verses of all time. You can just hand that to Lil Wayne right now. Okay. All right, thank you for that. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon. So disgusting that Elder says the UK compensated slave owners while pretending to not know that the US did the same. We pay slave owners $300 per slave after the war. Isn't it strange or convenient that neither Elder nor Candy Ass aren't aware of that? And it is interesting that Candace Owens seemed so just thrilled by this information. I mean, go back and look at the video. She's like, oh, really? Are you serious? I did not know that, Larry. I mean, this is just new information for her so that she can now make another argument for bigoted white people who existed in this world as slave owners, okay? Let's go to Just Be Anti-Racist. Adrienne Lawrence Esquire is on fire today, speaking truth to power. She's really on fire every day. We just get her on the show on Tuesday, all right? She's on fire every day though. Katie K. Jacks, Tuskegee all over, criminal and disgusting. And we will continue to follow this story because that doctor is being investigated by the medical board. Jambo Gino, question for the host. This is really for Adrienne. Is there any circumstance where it's illegal for a citizen to record an on-duty police officer? I'm pretty sure I know that answer, but I'm asking for confirmation. All right, Adrienne?
Generally, no, but I'm saying generally because it depends on where you're standing. If you are too close and you are in essentially encroaching upon their ability to do their job, then yeah, you can find yourself being arrested. But as long as you have a right to be where you are, film on.
Yeah. All right, YouTube super chat. Andrew, thank you for that. Bernie, the Kiwi Dragon. People with mental capacity cannot be made to accept medical or surgical procedures. This doctor needs to have his name struck out of any medical register. All right, Sydney De Stella, thank you for that. I live in one county over from Cabarrus, and I know the area well. I'm unfortunately not surprised. Most of the PDs in this area have a similar track record. Wow, that's insight. Fascist killer. Larry Elder doesn't want any of it, Dr. Rashad Ritchie, but we'll see. Mac Bain, Kelly may have some competition here. Larry and Candace sitting in a tree doing white supremacy. Words cannot express my disgust. Run them out of town. Give them no trust. Bars, but Kelly was hotter today. All right, if y'all were going head to head, Kelly got you on the battle today, but still good though. All right, ladies and gentlemen, staggering, unbelievable, but real. 15 Miami-Dade school staff members are dead from COVID within 10 days. 10 days. Many of them were unvaccinated. This is in Florida. The governor of Florida has handled this crisis in the worst way imaginable, dismissing the vaccination, making mandates contrary to court order to make it illegal in his state for a local school system to require a mask mandate. It's unbelievable. Let me take you to who these faculty members, school officials, employees are, okay? Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, a technology teacher with the William H. Turner Technical Arts High School. He was a teacher for 10 years. He's dead now, okay? Students, I'm sure they miss him. Family, everything else. Abe Coleman, a 30-year teaching veteran and site director for the 5,000 Role Models of Excellence project. That's a mentoring program for minority male students. He was a 3rd grade math teacher at Holmes Elementary School. He's dead now. He's gone. He's not coming back. Lillian Smith, a 45-year veteran. She was a teacher at Dr. William A. Chapman Elementary. It's even deeper with her. Her daughter, Lakeisha Williams, who was a cafeteria manager, also died from COVID-19. They both passed in August, just days apart from each other. And they are under the leadership of a governor who doesn't give a damn about their survival. Governor DeSantis. These are real people. Now, what is the governor doing? The governor is too damn busy trying to manipulate data so that his numbers don't look as severe as they are. Literally, they created a program in order to manipulate the math so that the reporting matrix makes it seem as if the numbers are dropping when in fact they're actually increasing. That's what he's doing. He's playing politics all the way. All right. Not all teachers and staff have been identified. According to the Miami Herald, our school district teachers union, United Teachers of Dade is hosting a vaccine pop-up now. Seems like a good idea, and hopes to encourage school district employees and residents of Liberty City, Brownsville, and the surrounding communities to get vaccinated. Meanwhile, Miami-Dade has one of the highest COVID-19 death rates in the state, according to a tracker by the Miami Herald. Around 67% of the county's total population is fully vaccinated. They just have a lot of people in that county. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, who has dismissed the importance of COVID-19 vaccinations and signed an executive order banning mask mandates at schools, and which, by the way, that executive order is contrary to a court ruling. Issued no comment to the astounding death rate in the county school system. No comment. That's his leadership style. No comment. I don't have anything to say about dead school teachers. No comment. Okay. The state health department was sued earlier this week by the Florida Center of Government Accountability. Let me just say this. All of this back and forth with court systems and people being sued, things being overturned, there's ambiguity in some of the ruling. People are dying. While they're trying to figure out, how to hold DeSantis accountable, and DeSantis is trying to figure out how to defund school systems, people are dying. Children are being hospitalized. A report came out today, 1/5 of all new damn cases are children. Now, what are we gonna wait on? Until that number is 2/5, 50%? What are we waiting on? Grown folks are killing children. Adrienne, what are your thoughts?
Well, you're absolutely right. In Florida right now, pediatric hospitalizations are on the rise. There are a lot of places that are losing beds essentially because the rise of cases in children. And also when we look at these individuals who unfortunately lost their lives to COVID-19, we can look a little bit deeper and see what Miami-Dade County Public Schools District, what it really looks like. And what we're talking about here is 90% of students in that school district are Black or brown. That's huge. Also, 69% of those in that school district are also economically disadvantaged. And some of those schools you read off, one of them has an 85% enrollment rate of Black students. The other one, 54%. Like these are individuals who are already oppressed, are already marginalized and held back. And now they're losing leaders, they're losing educators, individuals who were invested in their future, very much unlike Ron DeSantis. This is hitting minority communities so incredibly hard, yet you have a governor in the state of Florida who does not care about anything other than making sure the Republican agenda moves forward, even if it means the loss of child's lives.
That's right, very well said. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You wanna call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel free, back off!
I'm gonna tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
California for 20 years, and you need, and English is our first language, so you need to speak English.
I'm sorry about you, man.
Well, I'm sorry about you too.
Why?
Get out of my country.
Hey, see? Do you are a US citizen?
No, I don't think you
So
are.
what? You. So now it's just because what I look. Do you see that's the problem?
No,
that's
I don't have.
you.
I
That's
don't
in
have
your
any
mind.
problem with
That's
what,
in your mind.
I don't have any problem with the way you look.
So
I don't have any problem with the way you look.
I'm a US citizen. What is your problem?
I don't have any
What
problem.
is your problem?
Will you shut up? I don't have any problem with the way you look.
I'm sorry.
You're in America. You need to speak English.
What I'm doing? What do you think I'm doing?
Racist here, you're gonna leave.
Yeah. What do you
I'm
think
not
I'm doing?
racist.
Hey, no, that's racist. This man takes care of me. You're gonna get out of here. You're gonna talk like that to him. Don't do that here.
I'm gonna pay for what you got, okay? So can you please exit the restaurant, please?
No,
so I'm gonna pay. I'll take care of that. I take care of everything what you got, okay? Please. If
So
that's
I
what you look.
got raped.
Please give.
I got raped by illegal aliens. I got raped by illegal aliens. You can't speak English, and you want me to be nice to you?
Do you see?
Yeah.
So damn sad. I would not have paid for a damn thing if I owned or managed that restaurant. She would have had to pay for every bit of the meal that she messed up because of her racism. Now remember, there's an anti-Karen in here. And we are seeing this trend more and more, where somebody sees the Karenicity, they see the racism, they see the extreme action, they see the aggression, and they stand up and they say something. They do something more than just record. They actually get involved and they try to be helpful, okay? Obviously, this individual is in fact racist. This was in California. The irony is unreal. Literally, she was shocked that the manager of a Mexican restaurant spoke Spanish. What kind of audacity and privilege are you walking around with when you don't think that the manager of a Mexican restaurant should speak Spanish? Ma'am, you know you speak Spanish too. Every damn thing you ordered on that menu is in Spanish. Did you know that? Okay, Adrienne, thoughts?
I'm exhausted. I'm a California native through and through. Also, it's like I run into these Karens. I just ran into one this past weekend. It just gets exhausting and tiring how ignorant people are. Also, with speaking Spanish, just by saying the name of our state, she's speaking Spanish. How, like, it's where is the common sense, and why isn't it common enough? Like, even if you're gonna be racist, just be smarter about it. And this woman here, you're right, I wouldn't have paid for a thing. I would have just, you know what? I would have put her out. Because there's no way we can have people like this in our society and still claim to be somewhat of an evolved society.
Yeah, well said. And listen, just big ups once again to the anti-Karen. We want to encourage more behavior like that because we want to make sure not only are they shamed, because social environments have a way of shaping public response, but we also want to make sure that if there is a danger, listen, you may have to stand up and get in between somebody. It happens sometimes. It's humanity. All right, we got more. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
I'm old enough that I remember when Captain Crunch put the berries in it.
Yay, crunch berries!
And I was like, ooh, the fake berries.
Remember?
We're gonna try that.
We did a story back in the day about how a woman sued, I don't know, General Mills.
She'd been eating it for 4 years, believing that it was actual berries. Yeah, she's like, these aren't real berries at all. I'm like, I got news for you, Captain Crunch isn't really a captain or a person. Joining me now, legendary whistleblower and American hero, Edward Snowden. First question is, hey, where are you?
I'm in my apartment in Moscow.
All of a sudden, in the studio, Jim Gaffigan, everybody.
Mental illness is, completely undiagnosed in our society.
It's not about a particular administration. It's about a broken system of power, and through that, really, the instrumentalization of a system of not justice, but injustice.
People understand whether they claim to deny climate change or not. Our collective house is in crisis. We're also dealing with the legacy of 40 years of economic policies that have made people's lives more precarious.
Sometimes you got to force people into their humanity. Sometimes you have to shake people into empathy.
Senator Elizabeth Warren joins us in the studio.
Healthcare is a basic human right, and we are fighting for basic human rights.
In order to actually achieve that vision of everyone having access to the same resources and getting to determine the outcome of their life, we have a lot of work to do, and it needs to start right now.
Here's something you may not know. When you deposit your money in a big bank, it doesn't just sit, safe and secure, in a vault. Instead, your money could end up building oil pipelines, mining for coal, or drilling in the Arctic. So if you're concerned about the planet, give your money something good to do. Make the move to green with Aspirations Fossil Fuel Free account and join the thousands each week who are switching to save their dollars and save the planet at the same time.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
What Donald Trump has done as president has cut taxes for the wealthy and made life better for rich people. But he's made life worse for poor people.
We're making America great again by throwing more money at the military to destroy other countries because that makes us great instead of investing it in ourselves.
That it's Donald Trump and it's Stephen Miller. The choosing is based on wanting to create cruel and inhumane conditions to scare other people away from ever coming to the United States.
The opportunity to make money off of tragedy is the American way.
There's only one place to put garbage people: in the trash.
We've never had so much access to so much information with so little idea of what the hell is going on.
What does enforcing our borders have to do with traumatizing children? Absolutely nothing.
I think a sane person could say the current situation we have right now is radical. But what we're doing is literally making the world more like hell. That's a warning sign.
ShopTYT.com now has books. One of them is Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People. That's a saying that AOC said, they've got money, we've got people. It's the best tracing of the AOC victory I have seen anywhere. It's the most accurate, and it's got great details. The book actually goes all the way back to Jesse Jackson and how he's the original Bernie Sanders. If you want to know how we're going to win going forward, those lessons are super important, and they're in Ryan's book. So check it out right now at ShopTYT.com.
We found the perfect person to lead the army, Allison Hartson.
The establishment media works hand in glove with our corporate legislators, and our corporate legislators work hand in glove with the corporation. And we're going to make it so that it's a decentralized force throughout the country so that we can quickly identify stories, quickly identify troll farms, and go in and neutralize the enemy, and then start building responsible media throughout the country and on every platform available.
All right, welcome back to Indisputable. We got a lot of comments. Let me read as many as I can, okay? TYT member, Just Be Anti-Racist says, but please, Florida, keep having full capacity college football game day events. Sarcasm, okay? Let's go to Bernie Bro with a vagina. I don't believe this chick got raped by an undocumented immigrant, but even if she was, what does that have to do with this dude? I was raped by my redneck neighbor. Does that mean all rednecks are responsible? I've only heard this talking point from racists. I don't ever hear the opposite. And I'm sorry about what you went through. And rape is just a horrible, unimaginable crime against humanity and against you. And I'm sorry you went through that. All right, YouTube, Lisa T. My husband is an ER provider. He is suffering more PTSD with COVID than he did in Afghanistan. And listen, we're hearing that story more and more, that the trauma from seeing COVID is really taking a toll on those who work in healthcare. Peter Hamby, COVID DeSantis, leading cause of viral rates, yet his rules goes on. Today's haiku, thank you for that. Buckhorse DC. DC is here, Doc, we on code. We know what time it is, 100, thank you. Mike V, we need you in office, human rights and file case 10.2 against elected officials whose policies create unsafe conditions for children during a time of crisis. All right, Gypsy Mama says, their governor actively worked to make certain these people were not protected in their workplace. Wow. Twitch, meditating over dragon. DeSantis, Death Santis, the death cult leader. And he's wearing it proudly, by the way. Yeetwood Mac, she's in his Mexican restaurant, right? Yep. Kelly Reeves, laughing my A off, bet she pronounced it quesadilla. That was cute. Okay, horrendous. School teacher, a woman, has now been charged with having sex with a 14-year-old male student, okay? Let's put up a picture of this person. This is from the Fresno County Sheriff's Office, 6 Crimes Unit announced the arrest of Crystal Jackson, 39 years of age, a teacher accused of having sex with a 14-year-old student. All right, horrible. Crystal Jackson was arrested on Friday and booked into the Fresno County Jail on 4 counts of rape, along with single counts of continuous sex abuse of a child, oral copulation with a child, lewd acts with a child, communicating with a child to commit a felony, and meeting with a child for lewd purposes. Let's put a picture up again. Okay. Here's the background. On Friday, sex crimes detectives, with the assistance of the Central California Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, began an investigation into allegations surrounding a teacher named Crystal Jackson of Mountain View Independent Study School in Wrigley. This school is part of Kings Canyon Unified School District. Detectives received information of Jackson engaging in continuous sexual abuse of a 14-year-old boy. Over the course of an unspecified amount of time, Jackson had several one-on-one meetings with the student and sexual misconduct took place. This remains an ongoing investigation and detectives are working to determine the locations where sexual abuse may have occurred between Jackson and a now former student. There is a possibility that there are other victims out there who have not reported Jackson's illegal activity. I guarantee it. Yeah, there are other victims. Now, I know some people will say, well, it's different for boys. That's a damn lie. We know that based on research, okay? Young children, male and female, who are molested, especially by trusted adults, they have severe mental issues that have to be dealt with one way or the other. What she is doing is setting this 14-year-old up for mental, psychological failure. Intervention has to happen immediately. Now, it may seem to this 14-year-old like a good time. The 14-year-old does not have the capacity to give consent. There's a reason our laws state that. Adrienne, I know you can go deeper into that, but I wanted to say it for the record. It is not different, damn it, just because it's a male child.
Absolutely not. And that's a very antiquated view, because it was always this thought of, oh yeah, a guy's having sex, let's high five him. No, this is a child, and that is why there are laws against this. That child was raped. There is serious psychological consequences of having someone essentially betray your trust and sexually victimize you. We're talking PTSD, depression, suicide, alcohol problems, eating disorders. That individual also may be perpetuating sexual fantasies, stereotypes, bad things that are gonna hurt other people. And so we need to realize that a child is a child. It does not matter their gender necessarily. Also, the thing also to bear in mind is how common this is. RAINN, that's Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. They're the nation's largest anti-sexual violence org. They report that about every 9 minutes that there's Child Protective Services finding some evidence of child sexual abuse.
Wow.
And so if you happen to suspect that someone's being abused, or you are, please do reach out to RAINN for help or resources at 1-800-656-4673.
Give out that number one more time, Adrienne.
That's RAINN at 1-800-656-4673. They are there to help you, to give you resources. And the thing is, you have to remember you're not alone.
Amen to that. Thank you for that info. This was really, really weird. Now, let me give some context to this first. According to the person who recorded it, this individual went on a racist rant and then decided to growl, and then it went downhill from there. I know it's tough to go downhill from a growl, but it did. Here it is. All right, so currently there are no reports of any known mental health issue. The person seems to be intoxicated, but as I've said before, intoxication does not make you racist. Now let me give you some background. The person that you saw there, the police identified him as Timothy Armstrong, 61 years of age, of Los Angeles. Everything you saw go down went down in Salt Lake City. The Salt Lake City Police Department provided somewhat of a narrative. Armstrong was cited for public intoxication and disorderly conduct, according to the police. According to a fellow passenger, Dennis Bush, who filmed the whole meltdown, it began when the man yelled at a woman of age and ethnicity, telling her to sit down while she was standing up to deal with a back issue. He then told the flight attendants that the woman and the person she was with didn't belong here. After asking him to calm down, the man went into a complete meltdown of racist, sexist, and belligerent comments, culminating in his arrest at the gate. American Airlines, they did have something to say about this. They say, and I quote, American Airlines flight 1802 with the service from Los Angeles to Salt Lake City was met by law enforcement upon arrival at Salt Lake City due to an unruly passenger. The flight landed safely at SLC, Salt Lake City, where local law enforcement removed the disruptive passenger from the aircraft. We thank our crew for their professionalism and our customers for their understanding. And American Airlines, I need you to say something about how you won't tolerate racism, etc. next time you make a statement like this, okay? If we didn't have the video, we would have thought that somebody just had an argument with someone. Anyway, Adrienne?
Yes, so you're absolutely right. It would have been great to have more of an actual statement there from the airline, because the fact is that anti-Asian bias sentiment, it has been going on and full throttle, essentially around since the pandemic began. And so what we need more people to do is to stand up and to speak up, because clearly as that man there, he's doing a lot of speaking. And the fact that he only got cited, I know he got arrested, but just citation, like, yeah, right, man. Like, you are so incredibly fortunate, because if he had a deeper melanin count, I couldn't see how he would not find himself in jail as opposed to just a citation.
Yeah, and also we've seen individuals on airplanes who are black. They get into an argument, they get removed, and they go to jail for real. They don't get a citation.
Yep.
They get incarcerated, right? Explain the difference between the citation and them actually having a real misdemeanor or felony charge.
Yeah, that whole citation thing, that's something you can just show up at the court and pay, or you can even mail in to pay. But when it actually comes to getting charged with even a misdemeanor, yeah, that's something that's potentially going to be on your record for a long time. And when you go for employers, when you have to fill out any kind of rental application, you are going to have to answer that you do have it, even if maybe necessarily it didn't go full through and that you were not convicted. But it becomes problematic, and it's something that follows you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed in the statement from American Airlines, they say nothing about the passenger not being allowed to come back and fly with them. And that should be said, especially when something like this happens, because literally this person violated everybody in there, including the Asian individuals he targeted in his rant. Adrienne, how can people check you out? Always a pleasure having you on Indisputable.
Thanks for having me. You can find me on Twitter at Adrienne Law, Instagram at Adrienne Lawrence. And you can check out my book, Staying in the Game, the playbook for beating workplace sexual harassment. You can find it in the TYT store, as well as everywhere books are sold.
You got that thing down pat. I like how you, I need to work on how I promote my book that I haven't wrote yet. Okay, thank you so much, Adrienne, I appreciate you.
All right, ciao.
All right, we got more on the other side, stick and stay.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show. Now,
We'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? Now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Idarola in their life.
You confused everyone?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Idarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle.
She's cute. I didn't say that about Lori.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good foster.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip into Republicans. See, don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT Network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
All right, welcome back. It's indisputable. Let me read some of these amazing comments and then get to our next segment. Okay, don't forget, if you are watching Indisputable right now on the Damage Reports YouTube channel, if you're watching it there, TDR, you're going to have to come over to Indisputable TYT because starting Monday, September 13th, we will no longer be live there. Our big homie, John, and everybody, they have been so nice at making sure we had that great lead in. Make sure you subscribe. It's free and it's easy to youtube.com/indisputable TYT. Click subscribe, okay? Very easy. You will not miss I Wish a Karen Would. You will not miss the bullpen, none of that, all right? Also, if you are already a subscriber, your homework is to get 5 additional people to subscribe, all right? Also, deep dive right after Indisputable with the big homie Jordan Yule. That is exclusively on Twitch, all right? On the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TYT, twitch.tv/TYT. And also the conversation. That's today, live 5:30 Eastern time, 2:30 Pacific time. You can watch right before the Young Turks, tyt.com/live. And also subscribe to that page for all of these amazing and insightful interviews at youtube.com/TYT conversation. Okay, let me read some of these comments. TYT member Jambo Gino says, sit, bad Karen. I know that's what it kind of seemed like. You're like, sit. What else you gonna say to the guy? Just be anti-racist. Wait, Mr. Police Officer, you do not see that I'm a white male? I'm not the one that's supposed to be arrested. Why is this happening to me? That's what was going on in his mind. He was like, wait a minute, are you serious? Am I being arrested? Yeah, you going to jail. Well, not really, you get a citation. Okay, you're getting a citation. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, intoxicated and or mental illness are no excuse. Racist, hateful comments don't come from nowhere. Many people get drunk and are mentally ill and never spew hateful comments. Those thoughts are ingrained, yeah. Craig Souffle, the funniest part of the Mexican restaurant Karen is how when she was being assorted out, how the staff extracted the drink from my hand without spilling a drop. I saw that. I said, they've been here before. That took skill, okay? Not a damn drop spilled out the side of that glass. I'm so glad somebody else caught that. All right, Cindy, is it Stookie? I apologize if I said it wrong. I started filming police encounters yesterday at a baseball game. I helped a girl get out of an arrest because of the video footage. Security guard fired. Look at you, superhero, all right? Thank you for that. We got a few more. Orb rumor, sequel to Snakes on a Plane, Karen's on a Plane. That would be awesome. We already have like the movie Karen. Have y'all seen that? I haven't seen the movie Karen. I was actually, this is not a joke. I literally received an email inviting me to the red carpet premiere of the movie Karen because of the I Wish a Karen Would segments. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend because of a conflict in my schedule, so I couldn't go. All right, thank you all for chiming in. Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. In the bullpen today, we have Mr. Daniel D. Martino. Mr. D. Martino is an economist, BA in economics, and pursuing his PhD in economics at Columbia University. Very smart guy. We're going to discuss and perhaps debate economic policies as they translate in the political context, left and right. Daniel, good day, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about economy broken down through politics. So if you would, give us your sentiment. What is your belief and understanding of economic policy and how they correlate to the political norm?
Yeah, well, I think that the free market system, that is the ability of people to freely trade with each other, to pursue their self-interest, to open businesses, to do what makes them happy, is the biggest engine of prosperity that humanity has ever had, and has allowed us to reduce poverty worldwide from socialist countries that became free countries after the fall of the Soviet Union, to the Chinese reforms that were done with Deng Xiaoping, to the United States that has become one of the richest countries in the history of the planet because of those abilities, of that lack of government interference in our lives. That's what I believe, and I think it will continue to be the case.
All right, so let's talk about free market. Now you have a BA in economics. You're pursuing a PhD at Columbia University in economics. I'm sure you have taken economic theory. And in economic theory, you learn the framework of economy is that there's always winners and losers. You do understand that in the economic theoretical model. You will have those.
Certainly not always winners and losers. When we trade something, when somebody sells you something and you buy it willingly, both the seller and the winner and the consumer are winning, and that's why they're engaging in trade.
Have you learned the concept of unequal bargaining power based on?
Yes, for sure. Bargaining power does shift the benefits of trade, but people only engage in trade in the first place if they can win something from it. So there's always, I mean, if trade happens, in 99% of the cases, both parties are getting benefited.
Unless there's unequal bargaining power, correct?
If there's unequal bargaining power, what shifts is the distribution of the benefits, but even the party that gets fewer benefits gets at least something, for sure.
Let's talk about free market.
Otherwise, why would you trade? Why would you even engage in the trade if you're not getting any benefit, right?
Because you're forced and desperate. That's why.
Well, if you're being forced, then that's not free trade for sure.
Unequal bargaining power is the concept that says the market is not free without some level of regulation. So let's go to an hourly wage, for example. If we decided to eliminate the common sense regulatory value of minimum wage, right? There's a regulation, and say free market should just run how you're paid hourly. Well, you know what that would look like, Daniel. Some employers would take advantage of that in certain job markets and economies, and they would start paying people $3, $4, $5 an hour. It would actually shift in a negative as far as hourly rate. Now, we don't have to go to some trajectory. We know that because it happened before. So are you for some level of regulation in a free market? Or are you saying that free market should have zero regulation?
Well, no, let me make something clear here. There are government policies that can improve the welfare of the population. That is certain. And we need government to guarantee a justice system, policing, protect us from foreign threats, from fraud, of course, from crime, from many things that the private market cannot provide.
And economic predators, correct?
If people are lying for sure or fraud, now there are policies and maybe there are certain interventions and regulations that can have a net benefit, but people will only engage in trade if they're getting some benefit from it. Now, if we can improve that situation with the specific government policies, I'm open to considering those. I don't think the minimum wage is one of those policies, though.
Let's talk about slavery, okay? Do you think that was a trade?
Slavery was forced. Of course, I oppose that. That was a crime, right?
Yeah, well, not at that time, it wasn't a crime. We deem it to be a crime today in hindsight, but it wasn't a crime then. The 13th Amendment of the Constitution does not abolish slavery. It actually creates it under a different formation. It says in the exception to the abolishment rule of slavery is for punishment for a crime. So literally, you have inmates who have been convicted of a crime in the United States of America. They are working as slaves. They are forced to work. That is slavery. The 13th Amendment gives the legal covering for that to be a reality. Now, who takes advantage of that unequal bargaining matrix? Who takes advantage of that? Major Fortune 500 companies outsource the making of their products to the slave or enslaved individuals inside of prison systems. You are familiar with that process.
The case that I think it's a big shame is what the state of California does with its prison population, which is that they use them as firefighters for the forest fires. And then when these people get out of prison,
brother. right?
When the people get out of prison, there's a huge problem because the state actually does not allow them to become real firefighters, even though they have the experience because of this licensing requirements. So I totally oppose that. I think that most people are eventually gonna get out of jail, and we need to reintegrate them in society so that we can all benefit, right? We all benefit from people being more productive, not committing crimes again, and from contributing to the economy in general.
Now, Daniel, I agree. Over 90% of people who are incarcerated end up coming home. So that's a stated fact. The issue that I'm bringing to your attention is the fact that in an unregulated market, we can agree that slavery is an unregulated market, basically. Okay.
I think that slavery is somebody else forcing their, using force against others, and the government exists to protect us from that kind of thing.
Have you read the 13th Amendment, brother?
Yes, I have, and I understand that slavery is allowed as a way of government use for as a punishment for imprisonment.
That's right. You can actually force labor upon individuals who are being punished.
The government does, though, not private individuals.
Right, the government does. That doesn't make it right, sir.
No, of course. Okay, well, I mean, depending. I'm not an expert on criminal justice, and I'm not sure I'm the good person to discuss whether prisoners.
Yeah, but wait a minute. You brought up what's happening with firefighters and the inmates who are being utilized to fight forest fires in California as antithetical to what you believe should happen in the economic realm. But then when I bring up the reality of the matrix that makes it possible, which is the 13th Amendment of the US Constitution, you start to back away from that argument. Let's be very clear.
I think that
wait a minute, Daniel, let me make my point very clear. Either you are for complete free market enterprise, which looks something like how the free market uses slave wages or slave labor without paying wages in the United States of America, or you are for actual regulation of the free market.
But you yourself admitted that it is the government that is forcing these people to be firefighters. They're working for the state of California. I'm not sure what you mean. I don't think this is even related to the regulation of the economy. This is just a branch in the debate.
Sir, most inmates are working for some private or government-run facility, okay?
For a government run, most inmates are in state prisons.
Sir, I'm talking about the federal system. Give me a moment. If I lay in front of you, there's slavery happening in America. Fortune 500 companies are profiteering from slave labor. You disagree with that, right?
I'm not really sure. I think that there's a problem here. We have to, I think as a society, we agree that crimes must be punished, right? That a murderer must go to jail, right? Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the question is what kind of punishment should that be? I don't think that it's my area. I don't believe in the death penalty for sure. I do believe in life in prison for some individuals, but
I believe in rehabilitation.
Yeah,
so that's my
first rehabilitation if you are not in life in prison.
Yeah, well, life doesn't necessarily mean you're there forever, given the statute of what life means. So let me give you some data, because you wanted to make a debate about left versus right economic policies. Why does the economy grow faster under Democrats than Republicans? Why does private sector job growth increase faster under Democratic presidents than Republican presidents?
Yeah. I think that that's a very bad statistic to discuss, and let me explain you why for a minute. There's something called the business cycle. There are recessions every so often, usually about every 10 years. It is just a natural fact that we've had for centuries. And Democrats have happened to get elected at the beginning of the business cycle for the last 50 years or so. That happened in 2008. Obama got elected after the financial crisis. Biden got elected just during the pandemic lockdown, so things like that. Now, what we need to know, not all the jobs that are created during a president have anything to do with the president's policies. Trump did not create all the jobs that were created in his presidency, and Biden did not create all the jobs that were created under his presidency. We have to look at the specific policies and their effects, right? And that's what we should be debating.
All right, so let me give you some overall numbers and then we'll get into the policies, okay? And this is a combination of multiple presidents in modern history, so we can understand the comparative data of their actual economy or economic growth. Obama to date, when the record was taken, had a 2% growth in the economy. That was considered to be good, all right? W. Bush, it was at 1.6%. People celebrated that. It wasn't as great as President Obama's, but it was still good. Let's compare Clinton to H.W. Bush. Clinton had a growth of 3.7%. while H.W. Bush had a growth of 2%, okay? Reagan was at 3.4%. Carter was exactly at 3.4% as well. Nixon, Ford, that administration was at 2.7%, while Kennedy, Johnson, they were at 5.3%. Eisenhower, 2.4%, while Truman was at 4.9%. So line by line, item by item, the Democratic administrations, they have outpaced the economic growth dynamic more so than Republicans. Let me go to private sector job growth.
Right, but regardless, those numbers are facts, and I understand them because I've heard these facts many times.
Daniel, I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond, brother. Okay. All right. And by the way, if anybody want to check me out, this is from the Joint Economic Committee, United States Congress. Obama year to date at this point was at 1.2% for private job growth. All right, that's the private sector. Under Bush, it actually went negative. He lost jobs in the private sector. Under Clinton, it increased by 2.6%. With H.W. Bush, it only increased by 0.4% in the private sector. Reagan increased by 2.3% in the private sector. Carter increased it by 3.3%. And the list goes on and on. Every way you look at the data. Now you can say, it's just a coincidence based on the election cycle. But every way you configure the data, this is based on peer-reviewed research. Democrats oversee a stronger growth economy and a faster growth economy, and a stronger and faster private sector growth economy than Republicans since World War II.
Yeah.
So help me understand, brother, when you say that conservative policies are the policies that lead you to greater economic growth, why is it that we don't see their policies doing that?
Well, the question first, Kennedy is not the same as Obama. Each of these presidents governed for a different number of years. This is not a peer-reviewed study. This is just raw data from the jobs of number created or economic growth. Peer-reviewed studies actually try to do claims and fact check them through econometric methods, not just raw data.
Are you familiar with scholars.org?
For example, Clinton's economic policies.
Daniel?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with scholars.org?
Yeah, of course.
All right, that's where I got the information from.
No, the Joint Economic Committee, that's where the data is from.
I understand, they cited this as part of their research.
Right, and that's raw data.
So scholars.org is the research location for the information. When you say it's not peer-reviewed research, I just encourage you to go to scholars.
No, a paper is peer-reviewed research. That's just the source of data for the paper.
The source. Come on, brother, I got 2 doctorates. The paper cites the source, and that source is from the Joint Economic Committee, which was vetted by the researcher. Go ahead.
Right, no, and I trust it. I understand, I know the Joint Economic Committee. The question is what policies affected the job growth, right? Job growth first is organic. It doesn't matter who's the president, who's not. What matters is the policies that they implement and how that affects the natural path of the economy, because the economy grows naturally. During Clinton, he reduced the deficit, he cut back spending. I think he did what would be the most conservative economic policy after Reagan. It was President Bill Clinton agreeing with Republicans. Kennedy lowered taxes, he did the same. And if you look at those numbers as well, you see that in the past we had more economic growth than right now, averaging for all the presidents, no matter the party. And that is because as economies become more developed, we grow slower. Unless we find a way to innovate, and that's the problem. The question is, what policies do we implement now to increase welfare? Democrats talk about the Nordic countries, right? And how we should imitate them and give more welfare and spend more money. They're about to pass $3.5 trillion in a reconciliation bill. But nobody actually talks about what the Nordic countries do. Norway, Denmark, and Sweden all have lower corporate taxes than the United States at 22 and 21%. The US has a 21% at the federal level, plus state taxes that these countries don't have. So these supposedly progressive havens charge less in taxes to their corporations than we do, because they're smart, because they want companies to stay in their countries.
Okay, let me respond to that, brother. And I do appreciate you being on the show. There are a few policies that are not economic policies, but they significantly impact the economic atmosphere of everyday Americans. I'll give you one example of a non-economic policy that has impacted the economy, and that is a massive investment in training and college education. We all know the correlation, the cause and effect relationship between having some level of college, a college degree, or a skill. That equates to a higher lifetime financial earner. Under Republican regimes or leadership or presidencies, you have seen a massive influx, more so than Republicans, of programs, of funding for programs that lead to training that Americans do not have to pay out of pocket for or can be reimbursed 100% at the successful completion. The American College Promise Act was one such proposal. So that is a non-economic policy that significantly impacts economic realities of Americans all across the country. 100%. The question is, why aren't Republicans making that kind of massive investment in true infrastructure, which is the training of your workforce to be compatible to the jobs that are available?
Yeah, I think that Republicans are focusing a lot on education. They're just not focusing as much on college education. I feel like when the Democrats are focusing on education, it's just college. But the truth is that we have a very high school dropout rate in this country. We need to fix that. We need people to finish high school in the first place. We need people in poor communities to have access to better schools, and that's why Republicans support school choice. That's why we support, training programs of other types of trades. Right now, 1 in 5 professions in this country requires a license. You need to spend 1,000 hours in some states in unpaid labor to just be able to be a barber. What kind of government regulation is that? A barber is not gonna kill you. In Washington, D.C., you need to get a license to be an interior designer. Forbid that somebody will paint my wall orange and that will be a crime, right? Like, it's ridiculous.
Man. Brother, let me ask you this, man. You know anybody that's a barber? Like, you friends with one?
Yes, I have many here right now, many people from the Dominican Republic.
So one of my best friends is a barber, man. He's been cutting my hair since we were sitting outside of his mama's garage.
That's probably illegal nowadays.
It was illegal back then. He knew how to cut hair when he was 12, okay? But he went to school and he got his license. He now has a trade. He's proud of that trade. The reason why he's so good at what he does, this cat brings in over $1 million a year now. He owns not only a barber school, but he owns multiple barbershops in the Atlanta metropolitan area. The reason why this was so important to him is because now he understands what chemicals to mix and not mix. He understands what blades to utilize on certain skin types. So he learned some things about hair lice and how to clean his instruments so that others are not adversely affected. It's the fact that he had to go through barber school and take that exam.
But he was cutting your hair before barber school. You agreed to that, right?
Come on,
he cut your hair before barber school and you agreed to that. And that's a totally fine thing. But people are going to jail, especially minorities. Black people in the South are getting over criminalized by these licensing laws. And I think it's both unfair, racially targeted, and bad for the economy.
Well, we know racial targeting happens inside of the criminal justice system. My producers are telling me to wrap it up. Man, it's been fun. I appreciate you being on Indisputable. Thank you, sir.
Me too, thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.